There was an old owl who lived in an oak. The more he saw, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Now, why can't we be more like that old bird? Hey, welcome to the show. I'm glad that you're here. Happy New Year, January 3rd, 2026. And this is the first of what I hope and expect will be a much more frequent output here on the podcast, which has been affectionately named That's What I Meant to Say. There's a lot that goes into that name, and we will unpack what goes into the name, as time goes on. There's really a lot that goes into it. It's very, very meaningful. And if you listen to the show, I think that you will appreciate the title of the show over time. I just want to take a couple of minutes. I don't think it's going to take more than 10 minutes to just kind of update viewers and listeners as to what I've been up to in 2025 and what I hope and expect will be accomplished, or at least begun to be accomplished, in 2026. There's something cool about New Year's, like the beginning of a new year. And I've poo-pooed this in the past. I've always thought, people make insincere gestures, they make insincere resolutions, and why bother when you're not going to follow through on it? That's been my attitude in the past. I think this year it made me realize that there's really something special about New Year's, because it puts us in a frame of mind of just wanting to improve ourselves. It puts us in a reflective mood of thinking about things that, what happened in the last year? What happened in 2025? What went well? What did not go well? What parts of our lives do we want to improve, or like leave in the past and adopt new behaviors, new habits in 2026? And I've come to realize that there's actually something really special about New Year's. So in that frame, or in that frame of mind, I just want to share a little bit about what went well for me in 2025. And I'm talking about my professional career. I'm not going to get into the weeds with my personal life because it's not really applicable for the podcast. But there were some things that there was a lot of growth for me personally in 2025. First of all, I gave up client work. As far as what I mean by client work is having clients that would have their own podcast and they would send their materials over to me and I would get everything together and publish it for them. And that's an and that's an honorable line of work. There's nothing wrong with it. There's a lot right with it. However, it's something that I had been doing for 5 years, 6, maybe even 7 years. And it was just time for me to move on. Everything has a shelf life. And as much as I enjoyed working with people, with others who have their own show, and occasionally they would ask for my opinion or my feedback on a particular direction that they should take with their show, and sometimes they listened, sometimes they don't. I don't expect them to listen to everything that I say, but it was just time to move on from that and focus on publishing things that are in my name, that more reflect my own thoughts, my own opinions, and my own, well, I guess what you consider your own unique contributions to the world. So 2025, I began with a certain number of clients. I took on a couple, and they didn't last very long. They would, be really excited, saying, I'm going to commit to a year of this and then see how it goes after a year. Well, after 2 months, they decided they'd had enough, and they just didn't want to do it anymore, which is a little bit discouraging when that's your means of providing for your family. When you have inconsistency like that, well, you can't build a business like that. And when that happens too often, then it makes you think about, is this really how I should be spending my time? Um, I had two really solid clients, one of whom just decided, like I said before, everything has a shelf life and it was time for her to move on. And that's perfectly fine. That happens in this business. People just, they accomplish what they want to with a certain project and it's time to move on. So we parted ways on very good terms, as far as I know. Another was just a little bit, just struggling with consistency and or kind of erratic with the output. And I just decided, you know what, this is the time that it's to move on. I did not feel a need to uh, promote myself to the various networks that I'm involved in, that I have joined with the intent of promoting myself and the services that I provide. I just didn't feel the the inner oomph, right, to promote myself in that way. And how I promote myself in those networks, it remains to be seen, and that will be revealed in due time in 2026 and beyond. But client work, it was obvious to me and very clear to me that this has run its course as far as being fulfilling, as far as being financially viable. And so here we are. I parted ways with my final client late 2025, and as far as I know, it was amicable. But that's just the way it is. That's life. So that is the biggest change for me personally in my professional life. With for like how did things go in 2025 leading into 2026? That's the biggest change as far as publishing goes. Another change that I have made, or it's something that I um, undertook, is pursuing an advanced degree in political science. And it's interesting how political science, I'm still not decided. I still am not convinced, I should say, that politics is a science. Political science is a relatively new term in the realm of human behavior. And of course, governments have been around for as long as people have been inhabiting the earth. But is it really a science? I really don't know. And hopefully that will be. And I think it could go either way, depending on how one views it, how depending on the inclinations of a certain person versus another person. All that to say is that I am studying for a degree in what is known as political science. So there will be a lot on the podcast that has to do with politics, some of which is going to be offensive to some people because that's just the nature of politics. That's why you don't discuss politics and religion at the dinner table, because it makes things very unpleasant very quickly if people are not careful with their words. Well, I intend to be careful with my words. I'm going to say what I mean to say, hence the title of the podcast. But that's just the way things are. Sometimes when you say things the way that you see them and in a way that reflects your own personal convictions, then it's going to turn people off. And that's just the nature of being a human being. And there's nothing I can do about that. I'm not going to intentionally offend anyone, but I just know that sometimes things are going to be said that are going to be found offensive by others. And that's just life. So, speaking of religion, I think. Okay. Another thing that I have made a commitment to take more seriously here in 2026 versus 2025 and years past is I really feel a strong desire to be more active as a trumpet player. And this is, there was actually a time where I thought that I was going to give it up. And I remember very clearly when my wife Sana and I were living in Vietnam. And I think this is like 2021, most likely, I think it's 2021, thinking about it. And we were in a cab. We were going to a mall to have dinner or something, just a nice day out together. And I said, Sana, I think I'm going to quit. I think my trumpet playing days are behind me. I just don't really have a real reason to do it anymore. I've accomplished everything that I could want to accomplish and then some. And I think it's just time to put it away. And she said, well, maybe you shouldn't put it away. And I said, I would have to have a really good reason to continue to play. And she said, well, I want you to continue to play. Isn't that a good enough reason? And I thought about it and I said, that is a good reason. When you have a fan, especially a fan that lives with you and makes your dinner, when that fan says that you should continue with it, then you should continue with it. So that was for, I guess, 5 years ago now. And now I've really made a resolution that this is going to be something that is much more public. I'm just gonna go for it. Just gonna put myself out there with YouTubes and tutorials, maybe some lessons. I don't know exactly how it's going to go, but it's going to go. So that's another thing that is going to change in 2026 versus 25. Let's see here. As far as how will I work with other folks with podcasts? As I've said, I'm not going to be taking on new clients to produce their podcasts. However, I do enjoy mentoring people who either want to start a podcast or they have one that needs a little bit of direction. That's something that gives me a lot of enjoyment, a lot of fulfillment, and I intend to use the podcast artistry name that I created. Oh yeah, good. Another 5-6 years ago, and it's a good name. And there's a lot that goes into that name, and I plan to be using that name to promote a service that is, I don't know, maybe like an 8-week course of how to start a new podcast, or just taking somebody under my wings and showing them what I know and helping them, just guiding into, a more fruitful endeavor with a podcast, because there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made. And sometimes when you have someone in your corner who's been at it a little bit longer than you, that can help with some of those decisions. So that's something that is going to be coming up in the next year. And if you want to keep in mind the URL, podcastartistry.com, podcastartistry.com. Just keep it in your mind. Just tuck it away, think about it. And if you listen to this show in the future, you'll likely hear that URL again. Another big change is I have decided, finally, and this is something that I have messed with over the last year or so, and that is with Substack. If you're not familiar with Substack, it's a really powerful platform. You can have a personal website. You can even attach your own personal domain to it for a small fee, one-time fee, and then that's it. You don't pay for hosting beyond that with Substack. So I have decided that is the direction I'm going to go. My commitment with my hosting service, the hosting provider, is about to expire, and I just decided this is the direction I'm going to go. And they jacked up the prices without telling me. That's not cool. I don't want to deal with people like that. So this is what I'm going to be doing. JamesDNewcomb.com is now on Substack. So if you go there, it's going to take you right straight to my Substack. It's going to be built over the next couple of months, because there's a lot that goes into a Substack too. But that's another big thing, is switching to Substack. Why have 4 or 5 different platforms that you log into to do your online business when you can just have one? Substack takes care of your podcast hosting, your web hosting, your email distribution, all in one. So why do something that is more work than it needs to be when you can do everything from one? Substack has proven itself to be it's legit, and they are here for the long haul. So JamesDNewcomb.com is now on Substack. Let's see here. I think that's it. Let's see. The name of my business is not, it's not my own name, is not the name of the business. The name is Cheires Media, Cheireis. And that's all it is right now, is the name of the business. How it will grow, I think, is going to be revealed or kind of manifest itself in the next 12 months. But I do want to put out an invitation right here, and this is very preliminary, and you don't have to have anything solid or set in stone as to what you want to do if you're interested in working with me. But I am looking for people who are conscientious and who are serious and have a message that is in alignment with myself and my values. If you are interested in working together, collaborating with a media project of some sort, then just send me an email, james@jamesdnewcomb.com, and let's talk. I don't have, it's not 100% solidified as to what such a collaboration would look like, but if you want to work with me, just send me an email. Let me know what's on your mind, and let's see if it's a good fit. So that's all I'm going to say at this point. That's all I can say at this point. All right. Well, that's it. Happy New Year. In many ways, I'm glad that 2025 is in the past. I hope that 2026 is not as dramatic as 2025 was. It was a very stressful year for a lot of reasons, both external and internal. And I'm going to take care of what I can control with those internal stressors. Taken care of a lot of them already, and will continue to do so. So with that, I bid you farewell, and remember to find me on the web, jamesdnewcomb.com, and this podcast is going to be found on all the major platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, etc., and find me on Substack. Thank you guys for watching and listening, and I'll see you soon.
If you enjoy these conversations, you'll find even deeper insights, writings, and resources on my website, jamesdnewcomb.com. Subscribe to my daily newsletter, explore my musical projects, and connect with the work behind the podcast. Visit jamesdnewcomb.com and become part of this important work, broadcasting conscientiously from the outskirts of relevance.